This is crucial to the game, and oh my God, GG!
Sounds good in there, cutting through FABRIKANT on the Colossus!
All over the second!
There's no drones on the map. He kills it and he wins.
Stardust is gonna do it.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hello guys, and welcome to day 3 of the Dreamhack Open Grand Finals at Dreamhack Winter. My name is Smix and I'm here joined with Apollo. How are you doing today?
Doing really good. Whoa, this sounds really loud. Doing really, really good. Looking forward to the final day of the Dreamhack Open. It's been a long year, and I'm happy that we're finally here, and this is going to be a great day.
Yeah, day 1 and day 2 had so many amazing games. What were some of your favorite highlights?
Cast a lot yesterday, so it's all kind of mashed together. But one thing that stands out is probably the last game of the evening when Naniwa was able to beat Leenock, losing the first game, coming back to win the second and third one. Crowd was massive. It was really late at night as well, and as Naniwa said in the winner's interview, he didn't really expect too many people to be here that late. Everyone was here. They were cheering for him. He was able to pull the win. Yeah, it was definitely my favorite moment.
Yeah, I actually have to agree with you. I did not also expect all those people to stay this late, and the energy was surprisingly super, super passionate despite the fact that they had been here all day cheering. So it was really, really great to see that. But guys, before we continue though, I do have to thank our sponsors for making all of this possible. So huge shout out to Azo, Logitech G, and Kingston HyperX for, because without them, none of us would be even here, and none of these games would be here for you guys. So huge shout out to them.
That's right. They've done a great job, supported Dreamhack throughout the year from Stockholm to summer, to Valencia to Bucharest. It's been a great 2013, and we're almost here to finish it up. Very close, just a couple more games left. So let's remind ourselves, this is the Dreamhack Open.
Sorry guys, we're back, and guys, before we continue, I want to show you guys the schedule of everything that will happen today. So if we can just bring that up here. Our first match will be Patience versus SOS, and we'll just continue throughout the losers bracket on with Hero, Polt, JYP, and Naniwa. And the losers bracket finals will be a best of 5 into the grand finals, which will be a best of 7.
Darude! That's all I see on that schedule. 15 minutes past 10. Darude's going to be performing live on the StarCraft 2 stage. That's going to be awesome. I'm kind of looking forward to that. But of course, the StarCraft 2 games are going to be amazing throughout the day. It's going to be a fantastic day.
Yeah, I'm hoping the Twitch servers will be able to handle all the kappa that I'm sure will be going on in the Twitch chat. Now guys, without further ado, let's hand it over to In Control and Nathanius for our first match of the day, Patience and SOS.
Thank you, Smix. Welcome to the caster desk. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Nathanius, with me In Control, and we're going to bring you a matchup that, well, it's a mirror matchup, Protoss versus Protoss, a little bit more towards your flavor, In Control.
It's a whole lot of my flavor. I eat Protoss for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
How does it taste?
I don't know. I don't actually do those things.
Well, two very strong players coming through here. There's been a lot of StarCraft happening But it's important to keep in mind at this stage of the tournament, this is a loser's bracket. Whoever loses this best of 3 is eliminated from the tournament. We can see here all of the games that have been played out in the bracket stage. We went through pretty much all of these games yesterday. Tons of big name players have been eliminated. And just the next couple series, we'll be bringing you Patience, SOS, and Hero versus Pole.
Big upset last night was Jaedong losing to his teammate JYP. And JYP will try to continue that Cinderella story as he takes on Naniwa. I mean, I was joking last night, but I think if JYP beats Jaedong, then Naniwa, he might be the most hated player on the planet in the course of a 24-hour period of time. But of course, everyone's here to win, so you can't fault him for it. It's going to be a great match, but as you said, we've got some really cool ones here. Really excited to see if this Patience, another kind of like a Cinderella story, so to speak, continues. He's taking on SOS. SOS is a bit of a juggernaut. Yeah,
and SOS, you know, the BlizzCon champion, performing very well recently, but he's shown a bit more mortality in this tournament than he did in the BlizzCon finals. Patience, on the other hand, the player that we saw come through the online qualifier in November, took out big name players like CJ Antis' Hydra, but now he has to play a Protoss versus Protoss to advance forward. SOS is no small fry. He played a lot of great Protoss versus Protoss at the last tournament I saw him at, the Intel Extreme Masters New York, and I think it's going to be a tough road for Patience, but he seems to have so far shown that he can definitely bring the pain.
Yeah, he actually, I think he actually won his group. He took first there, and Naniwa took second. And then since then, of course, has been knocked down to this loser bracket. So it's, as we were kind of talking about yesterday, it's all or nothing at this point in time. The kind of fickle nature of our scene is that Patience has had a great run, but if he doesn't get it done here, people will forget about him again. It's a really brutal scene. It's a good place to be a winner. It's a tough place to be everybody else. So can Patience do it? This big test, beating SOS here will do that. But also on the flip side, let's talk about SOS for a second. Wins BlizzCon, goes to Red Bull, which is an 8-player invitational, if I'm not mistaken. They had some amazing players. Scarlet, of course, going unchained there. But does take second to Parting, and Parting swung for the fences and called it. He pointed out there and said, I'm going to win that tournament because I'm the best player. Then he did it. So SOS getting challenged just a little bit, comes here, had a rough start in his group play, did not win that thing like a lot of people would kind of expect, and here he is facing elimination.
Yeah, and it's one of those situations where in that group stage, SOS didn't actually play any PvP. We haven't seen really any PvP from him so far in this tournament. Has he tuned it up since that last departing, as you said, in the finals of the Red Bull Battlegrounds? And what exactly is Patience going to bring? We actually haven't seen either of these players really in this matchup getting a good chance to go through that. Like, Patience only PvP was that victory over Naniwa in the group stage, and I don't know, what do you think we're going to expect from these players? SOS is, I think, probably one of the more favored in this matchup.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the PvP matchup is kind of tailored towards his style in general. When you consider him as a Terran or a Zerg, and of course as a Protoss, you think of a guy that can be capable of anything. He'll rotate through very much so different builds. A lot of people kind of use the word cheesy when describing him. I don't really like to think of that. Even back before he was a BlizzCon champion, he was more of a very refined, well-executing, kind of a timing attack-oriented Protoss. Yes, of course, he'll slide some all-ins in there, but he more favors to get that big advantage early and often. And in PvP, that's pretty much what it's all about. Very rarely, I mean, I'm almost being kind of generic by saying this, but like, there's actually no Protoss out there that just plays this matchup like, well, I'm going to sit back and just go to 5 Nexus and really just receive every single one of your attacks. Everyone rotates through the different timings with the Stargate, the Twilight Council, the Robo, and of course, gateway timing attacks, which are a little less common these days. But it's going to be some 1-gate expands, some Stargate stuff. He loves the Stargate. Going to see a few Oracles in this matchup, I do believe.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Stargate play in almost every matchup of this tournament that involves a Protoss player, and I have to echo your sentiments that PvP can oftentimes come down to those decisions that the players make as far as their builds go in the beginning of the game. We're getting into the game hard lobby for this match. Both players getting ready. This tournament, there's so much on the line here at Dreamhack Winter. There's first place, a $30,000 prize. There's so much money at stake. And just to reiterate your point from earlier, Patience, arguably probably one of the least known players that's made it this far in the bracket. The Azubu Protoss, if he can make a deep run here, that gets you not only that money, but a little bit more known. Maybe we'll see him at some more tournaments, and who knows?
That's the really cool part about Dreamhack. Nathaniel, you bring up a really good point. I mean, there's like this, there's some kind of God spirit or something here that picks one player every single Dreamhack and says, I'm going to rise you up out of obscurity and put you on that podium for just a little bit. And it seems to happen every single Dreamhack, and this time around it's Patience, although to a certain extent JYP is kind of vying for that position as well. But this is where legends are born. If you can sit in one of those booths this late in a tournament at this stage and you can defeat a BlizzCon champion like SOS, this is where you stake your claim. This is where you say, I am one of the best Protoss players, and you know, to your point too, you can't really do it in one tournament. If you could, I guess it'd have to be BlizzCon. But after this, will we see more Patience? Will he be at more foreigner events?
Well, it's time to find out, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Akalon Wastes, spawning in the northwest position. As the red Protoss player from Azubu, unknown, but he's here at the final day. It is Patience. Not too much behind him before, but now the BlizzCon champion. Can he continue his run? The blue Protoss from Wunjin Stars. It is SOS.
Everyone can take a deep breath. This first game is underway, and both the pylons have been placed. Completely normal places. This is a 1v1 map, Akalon Wastes. Been around forever. A lot of times when we talk about these map pools and we celebrate the new ones and we kind of loathe the old ones, Akalon Wastes is that one that hopes that nobody mentions it, because it's a little bit old. It's on the chopping block, I would say. Still creates really fun games, of course, and especially in PvP, it's not really a big issue in terms of it being an old or new map, but I like it. 3 base is pretty safe. If we do get rolling macro-wise, good luck attacking up that ramp against a Protoss player, especially as another Protoss player. And then, of course, if you do get to 3 bases, a lot of times we'll see Colossus and Tempest-based armies, which really benefit from these narrow choke spaces because they can be very hard to reach, and their long range does a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I'm wondering in this earlier phase, before we reach that 3 base setup, Patience being not quite the big known player. A lot of people have been looking at SOS, have been looking at his build orders, the way that he plays ever since that BlizzCon championship. And I think this gives a Patience a little bit of an edge. If he brings something to the table that's maybe a bit unorthodox, SOS might not be as aware of what his tendencies are. What do you think is a solid opener on this map, at least for a player that maybe is a bit more hard to study?
You know, both these players have kind of shown that they're very timing oriented and they'll rotate through different builds. They're kind of the Joker, so to speak. Like they're not just, you can't just look at him and say, well, I know exactly what he's going to do. He always does blink. You know, it's not like that. And I'm not a super expert on like the Korean metagame for PvP in particular, but what I will tell you as a Protoss player, and what I've witnessed in tournaments and I'm like a collector of information for StarCraft 2. So what I feel like is true is that at the highest of levels, it comes down to execution. Everyone's kind of rotating through builds, and if you ask these pro gamers about PvP, they'll say it is fairly luck-based, and there's a little bit of coin flippiness to it. And what they're speaking to is that they both have the same tools, so a lot of times the big problem is if one guy draws up this build and the other guy draws up another, well, that one build's just significantly stronger than the other one, and there's no way to actually know exactly, you know, which build the other guy's going to do. So a lot of times it comes down to that 50-50 coin flip. But what separates the men from the boys is going to be that execution, and SOS so far has been on a different level in terms of execution. So that's why he's considered the favorite. So
this game, we're already seeing the Stargate play from both of these players, immediately scouted by each other. And actually, as the probe for SOS leaves Patience's base, he cancels the Stargate and switches into a Twilight Council. He's already trying to play a little bit of a mind game with him, saying, okay, you might prepare for Stargate, and if we both go Stargate, sometimes you get that awkward try to catch one of the other players with a Phoenix in case they go for something like an Oracle. So this is kind of a weird reaction.
But a reaction to what? He didn't scout Stargate on the flip side, and I mean, neither of them scout each other's tech. He literally just had a different idea. There's nothing that he saw, as far as I can tell, that is telling him he wants to do that. So that's actually pretty curious. I mean, if we want to go super crazy, but I got to tell you, this game's, it's really complicated, but it's not this complicated. The super crazy theory would be that he didn't see a probe scout, or there was no Zealot Stalker coming his way, and he knows his opponent so well that if that's the case, then this is the build he typically does on this map. There is a chance that that could be true, but I really don't think it is. I think he just literally is kind of winging it and was like, nah, actually, I don't want to do Stargate, because what if I run into another Stargate? And I just remembered that he kind of likes to do that, so I'm going to go Twilight Council.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. In the Blink, I think a lot of Protoss players, or at least in my experience, would say that if you can open up Blink versus Stargate, if they don't do a lot of early damage with anything like an Oracle, and now you see here, the Mothership Core comes in and scouts these Phoenix, so immediately recalling out. He knows what's coming his way, and I feel like Blink is a pretty solid way to open up with this. We actually have a lot of pylons being placed for SOS. You could be ready to just attack with these Phoenix, maybe lift up any defensive units that Patient builds, like a Sentry, and go for a gateway assault.
This is a super old school build. It's weird seeing on this map. It used to be done on like a Tal'Daram altar, but there is an Oracle coming up behind this, so SOS is going to break away from the traditional style. Now, that Mothership Core had to use its energy to recall back, so there is no Photon Overcharge. Patience is huddled up against that Nexus, but he's not fooling anybody. And it looks like SOS... this is so funny. I mean, he's throwing down a Robo at this point and an Oracle. You were right, though. You're pointing out this kind of breadcrumb trail of pylons. It looks like he wants to be aggressive. The Phoenix are to lift up sentries to allow him to breach that ramp, but it's not going to happen. Not just because of Blink, which he now knows about, but also because he's just not really spending his money to make as many units as possible. So it's very interesting watching these two guys, because so far, a lot of indecision already.
Yeah, the Phoenix coming in, trying to pick off the rest of these units. That Mothership Core is still alive. Patience on the other side of the map has actually forced some of these units to come home. He's built pylons inside of SOS's base. It's kind of becoming this duel of the ninja pylons as SOS has brought everything back. And I think this is kind of nice because Patience can shove back this attack. He looked like he wanted to take that Nexus before he scouted the pylons
Oracle
outside.
in the main base up there. And actually, that does get repelled. I'm not quite sure how many kills it had on it.
He's got 8 worker kills total this game, SOS. It's pretty nice. Patience will start up his natural expansion Nexus faster. And because he was looking to expand, he actually had already a couple of extra probes on the map. So it's still 23-25. But the 8 probes lost, of course, are money that he has to invest in replacing those workers.
Well, despite those 8 probes lost, though, he's just down a single probe. So Patience doing a phenomenal job of continuing up his Harvester production. On the flip side, we'll see another Nexus from SOS. So we could slide into that uncomfortable, well, I guess we're doing a macro game. Both these players were out for blood. I mean, SOS opened up with a very aggressive 3 Phoenix. Of course, now he's going up to even 4 Phoenix. But the idea here was he was going to try to attack that ramp. Decided to bail out of it when he saw it was Blink Stalkers, threw down the Robo to be safe against any kind of massive Blinker Stalker attack, or Blinker Stalker attack. And then on the flip side, Patience was going Stargate and then stopped doing that, but he's getting a big jump here.
Yeah, using that huge Stalker count with the Blink to catch SOS's Stalkers out on the map. What's left to defend against this? This Nexus is exposed, immediately canceled by SOS, realizing he can't hold on to this. Has an Immortal halfway out. He has 1 sitting back. Does have the Photon Overcharge, but these Stalkers can actually hit the robotics facility outside the range of this. He just needs to be careful. No, he's going to dive on top of the Immortal. Picks it off, going for the Mothership Core as well. That's dead. Probes even being pulled off the line for SOS, trying to force field in these Stalkers with the Blink. Patience can keep these alive for a very long period of time. Jumps on the second Immortal. Will be able to grab this as well, and he's forcing SOS to commit so much to defending this. In the meantime, his Nexus is finished up back home.
Yeah, he's already expanded. The Oracle is just now going to lurch to action. It's going to have to get some serious work done. I think the Mothership Core was left back there, though, so there should be a Photon Overcharge. And over here at the the main base of SOS, we can see that this attack has been just beautifully executed. He gets the Robo, gets both the Immortals. That's effectively the scariest things that we can see coming out of SOS. I mean, he could make some Void Rays, I guess, but you know what? Blink Stalkers are pretty okay against those as well.
Yeah, and I mean, he doesn't have any Immortals, so he has to rebuild that robotics facility, which means this heavy Stalker count of Patience is still really, really powerful. You're not going to get enough Immortals to just shove this back. You can still continue to use the Blink marker. Zealots will never catch those units without charge. And, I mean, SOS still has the Oracle out on the map, but he hasn't been able to do anything with it. There's still the same amount of workers killed as the beginning phase of the game.
Yeah.
And now Patience can just go home, take his lead, and just be happy with it. Nexus restarting up in the natural for SOS.
Yeah, both these players really going at it here. Robo's going to be remade for SOS. SOS is just now the guy down by 2 Harvesters. He is down in Nexus, which is a big deal, because, of course, that's, an entire other chrono boost that you could be having. Oracle looking for a hole here. It's going to get a couple, but this Blink should finish it off. And yep, there it goes. Yeah. And now both players are kind of settling back. Even another pylon inside the natural of SOS that'll eventually be found. But for right now, it's spotting, or it's potentially spotting that there is an expansion. I'm sure he assumes, though, with no attack coming his way.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, if SOS were to move out and this pylon was still here, of course, he could try to do some other form of harass. We see SOS even replacing that Oracle that he lost. I think it's important to try to keep something active on the map for either this scouting. He does have observers, but Patience is getting ready to just move in with another assault, utilizing this tech advantage that he has. All he needs to do is not get force field, and even if he does, he has the Blinks. Just now, an Immortal is coming down the ramp, and here we see the Blinks moving back and forth. Guardian Shield being activated. He dives on top of this Immortal as well. Such aggressive play from Patience, and that's it. He's got a unit count lead. Yeah. He's blasting through this, almost double the Stalker count of his opponent. SOS's Zealots not going to be a match versus this army, continuing to chase up the ramp. Another Immortal halfway done, but continuing. SOS has to use probes every step of the way to hold this assault off.
Patience, you are on fire, my friend. He's about to take out SOS. There go the last remaining units. The Mothership Core, I believe it is either not remade or has died again. The Immortal, okay, there's that Oracle, another Oracle, excuse me, going to go to town on that natural, but it's too late. This is an exposed Protoss. He's got nothing. An Artosis pylon will die inside that main.
GG. Patience takes game number 1
Holy cow.
over the BlizzCon champion.
Really fun game. Again, we go back to the beginning. Patience, for some reason, canceled that Stargate. Maybe I missed something. I'm very much so open to being wrong here, but I really feel like he just kind of had a hunch, and he was absolutely correct. It was Phoenix first, by the way, out of SOS, and it's worth noting, I mean, a lot of times when we see Stargates in the PvP matchup this day and age, some players will go out on a limb and start off with an Oracle. And if that Oracle gets to the other side of the base and that guy just happened to have gone Phoenix first, you are in a world of trouble. And SOS was doing just that. He did not open up Oracle. He went Phoenix, following up with the Oracle, looking to pounce on perhaps another Stargate game. But instead, something about patience, man. He's working with some kind of fairy dust because he said, you know what, I'm going to go Blink, which is fantastic against the Phoenix opener.
It's one of the strengths of being probably, like I said, the least known player competing at this stage of the tournament, showing that he has the skill to come here. And as we saw, playing a little bit of the weird decision making, but it worked out super well for him.
Super
and being
well.
just aggressive enough that not even those Immortals could do anything at all to hold us off. I'm wondering what SOS is going to bring to the table for the second game, though. We'll be playing on Yansu. Any thoughts on this map before we jump in?
Well, I mean, it's got a lot of cliffs. I mean, it sounds kind of funny to say that, but I guess what I'm trying to get to is it's another good Blink map. So anytime it's a good Blink map like that, it adds a lot of variance, but it kind of narrows it a little bit too, which, again, extremely generic to say. But what I mean is a lot of times we'll see one gate expand followed by a Robo to get those Immortals out to handle those Blink Stalkers, but a lot of times we'll see Blink to counter even the Robo. Some players really they like Blink against Robo. It's very funny to... I feel awkward talking about it because they're both actually true.
Well, I mean, it also comes down to the mobility of the forces. Yansu, almost kind of like Akalon Waste in the regard that that Photon Overcharge won't cover a lot of your main base.
Okay.
It's a significant area by the ramp of the main base. So if you do take that fast expand, you have a lot of space to cover. So I'm wondering if that'll take a little bit of play. Maybe we'll see that aggressive opening again from SOS. He really wanted to bring the pressure, but that tech lead that Patience was able to get, just holding on so much.
Well, in that regard, Blink's actually even better on this map for the reason you just stated. Like, on Akalon Waste, you can circumvent Photon Overcharge through that big ramp by going to the right of the rocks at the top location or the left of the rocks at the lower location and just blinking up into the main. But of course, that's a little bit harder to do because it's a little bit of a windy path to get there or a blink to get even there. But on this map, you can actually just go ahead and blink up into the high ground with the ramp looking down on the natural, which is an amazing location for Blink Stalkers. So there's a very big threat there.
Yeah, we'll have to see if this comes to be a big part of the game as we are here on Yansu. Spawning in the northeast position, the red Protoss, Azubu's Patience. Coming through the online qualifier and already with a 1-0 lead over this man in the southwest. The blue Protoss player from Wunjin Stars trying to defend his title as one of the best Protoss players in the world. It is SOS.
So last night, we saw JYP brush the dust off his shoulders and come out of nowhere, beating Jaedong, the #2 BlizzCon player. And now, Patience, forget dust, he just kind of materialized. I did not even know this human being existed before this tournament.
He got warped in. Ire calling in for those reinforcements, but here he is, 1-0 in a very short best of 3, forcing elimination potentially on SOS, your BlizzCon champion, the guy who was not a fluke because a couple weekends later he goes to Red Bull, takes second place behind Parting, another pretty good player. So Patience is playing on fire right now. It's really amazing to watch. Yeah, you bring up another cool storyline between Patience and JYP, the player that was unknown and the player that's just had a slow year. These two guys making potentially very deep runs in this tournament. And I'm wondering if SOS is going to try to do something a bit more solid faster, or just be a bit more aware of the potential of falling behind to that tech play. If you want to change it up versus this blink opener that we saw from Patience, what do you think is a solid way, at least as a Protoss, to open up?
Well, it's an interesting question to ask because I can't help but to keep kind of beating this dead horse where I tell you, like, if there was an absolute solid perfect build to do in PvP, we'd see it all the time. The fact of the matter is, any one build you can do in PvP has a certain element of risk to it because there's another build that's quite a bit stronger versus that build. And there's no way to actually get that scouting information. If we had floating pylons that we could rely on perusing the other guy's base or a hack like a scan, then we'd be able to say, well, it would narrow down the builds to much safer areas. But for right now, Protoss versus Protoss, it's a bit of a poker game. There's a little bit of guessing going on. And Patience, like I said, I'd be curious. If you want to tweet at me or if I just missed something, let me know. But that canceling of the half-made Stargate, based off, and again, I checked the vision, No Stargate was spotted on either side. He just sniffs something out, cancels it, goes with the Twilight Council, and it was the exact right call. It was amazing.
Yeah, I kind of a weird spider sense Patience seemed to have that game.
Yeah.
But this game opening up with the Zealot into the Stalker. We have a Sentry opening for SOS again. Kind of looks like what he wanted to open up with the last game before he started his Stargate. So I'm wondering if this is going to be a repeat of that build. But Patience moving out with the Mothership Core as well. How aggressive does he want to get this early on? SOS's probe sees that this Zealot's kind of stepping a little bit forward. He's gotten the scouting information, or at least as much as he'll be able to at this stage of the game.
This should be one gate versus one gate, but as I said, there's a probe moving behind. There's that Twilight Council. So Patience seems to be drawing up once again with Blink Stalker. At that stage, like if you're going to go Dark Templar, I really feel like, I mean, let me see here. No, he's got the much core out too. No, I really feel like that's going to be a Blink called up for him. Again, we talked about how this map's pretty good for it. I'm sure we'll see an example of why here in a moment. SOS on the flip side is going for Twilight Council as well. And again, at the same time, I feel like this is going to be pretty close to mirror builds. We can see that the Sentry's different, however, for SOS.
Yeah, and he does actually force field locking in this Stalker. He has enough units, should be able to kill this off without too much trouble. Time warps the Sentry.
Ooh,
he wants to
what
get
is he
something
doing?
for his money, but this Sentry outruns the Mothership Core. Patience, he's invested quite a bit, to be honest, in this little bit of a poke.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to get this Sentry.
No, and he's at risk of losing the Mothership Core, to be honest with you. It's kind of a weird move.
Well, he's cornered it. It's very, very low, that Sentry. If he kills it, it's a bit of a mistake. He does get something for it. 100 gas apiece lost, but that Stalker as well for Patience.
Loses a Stalker, Zealot, and Mothership Core for a single Sentry. Nobody on the planet, don't do it. Do not tell me that was worth the trade. That Sentries are awesome, okay? Some people will tell you force fields are completely broken or are the best thing in the entire game, but one Sentry's worth of force fields, not worth the trade. But we do have 4-gate Blink going on behind this for Patience, and he is going to have to remake that Mothership Core so that he can have high ground spotting. But I'll tell you what, remaking a 100 gas Mothership Core off of a 1-base Blink Stalker all in, it's expensive, and you know, I don't know, he definitely went for it, like you said. It's just kind of a weird trade.
Yeah, this is actually, I feel like weird is a good way to describe the current situation of the game. That 4-gateway Blink, as you mentioned, for Patience, but he lost some Mothership Core, so that takes away a bit of the gas he could have used for the Stalkers. SOS wants to expand, and he's going 3-gate Blink with a robotics facility, so he'll have less Stalkers, but he has the potential to get out the Immortals, which hit a little bit harder versus Patience's units.
Observer first here, too. I hate to be pretty fatalistic, but if SOS pulls this off, that'll be incredible. I mean, just look at the raw math of it. They're both going Blink, except one of the two guys. Well, never mind. There's the Robo from Patience. So Patience is doing what would be considered kind of the... You know, that Robo's at a weird time, I'm going to be honest with you. If it was a DT opener, and he did scout out the Twilight Council.
I think it's because he saw the Twilight Council. Just
I get that, but I'll tell you what. If it was a DT build, I mean, unless it was Blink then DT, which some guys are crazy. They'll do that kind of thing. It's too late. But Blink first here for Patience is going to get him at least one Stalker, maybe two. Blink does finish for SOS. He's going to want to Blink away, but he doesn't just yet. He loses 2 Stalkers, and Patience is knocking on the door. He might do it, Nathanius.
Yeah, he's knocking, and there's not enough here to really respond to this. Photon Overcharge is activated. Once we can see this pylon not quite in the range of this, and he can still park himself up. There's no way to force him down there. And this isn't a map like Frost where he gets the high ground with the Photon Overcharge, and he's going to continue to bring this pressure, can almost hit this robotics facility just outside, and still has the Stalker count lead. And Immortal does come out, but how brave will Patience be? The Stalker count's pretty damn high for SOS, not quite as big as his, but jumping on this Immortal is going to be very, very dangerous and a lot harder to do than on the last map, I feel.
Proxy Pod in the middle of the map does die in the background as well. It seems kind of like a minor point, but it's a pretty big deal for SOS. It's getting bad here.
Yeah, he's supply blocked.
He's supply blocked. He does have the second Immortal in production, so it's not the worst of things, but he now has no map presence at all. And with these Blink Stalkers here and no Sentries, SOS doesn't know if there's an expansion going on, or what's scary, tons more Blink Stalkers. I mean, in game number 1, Patience did expand, but he barely put probes on it. He was more preoccupied with using every ounce of his production to get more Blink Stalkers out. And if SOS doesn't guess right, basically, he'll just die. It is an expansion in the background, which means SOS is probably going to have to all in here with the 3 Immortals.
Yeah, the Observer for SOS will actually see that this expansion is being taken. He partitions off 4 Stalkers to jump down. I mean, 4 Stalkers will one-shot a probe. So if he can get in a good position, he might be able to do some counter-harass, force Patience to pull his army back. And Patience is spread at the bottom of this ramp. He does have a Sentry. So it's very dangerous for him to move these Immortals down. He could get cut in half very easily.
He's going to back away. It looks like that. I mean, that would be the safer call. And actually, on the flip side, we have some Stalkers blinked out by SOS. Really nice play here. It's going to allow him some harass. He needs to be careful. They're so critically important here. And again, actually gets down the ramp with the 3 Immortals, so Patience with a little bit of a snafu in terms of control, but what I like about that is that was forced on him by SOS. Yeah. SOS didn't just like hope that he would make a mistake. He forced it on him by having these Blink Stalkers out here causing disarray. Now SOS does expand behind this, so he's not going to all in like I had said. 3 Immortals are a nice anchor as well. So he has the better stopping power, I feel. If he can get these Immortals into action against the Stalkers of Patience, he'll be paying dividends.
Yeah, and he actually catches some of the Stalkers of Patience out in the field, deals some shield damage, and he's actually maybe able to pick off a couple on the tail end with these 3 that he's had out here. This all comes down to a really big defense will be important. There's a lot of force fields actually available for Patience. The Immortal count pretty close, but 2 more for SOS. This is where the force fields needs to keep those Immortals away. And of course, one of the Immortals for SOS is still all the way back on the other side of the map.
This is a Hitman squad. Takes 4 Stalkers to one-shot a pro, but look at that. Patience playing so well is going to move over just enough to make that a fool's errand. He's chrono boosting out Immortals himself, so they're going to have very similar army compositions for right now. And if you look at that Harvester count, we do see a 3 Harvester advantage for Patience. But with the Nexus nearing completion for SOS, I gotta say, if you would have asked me 4-gate Blink against 3-gate Robo Blink Expand, I would have told you 4-gate Blink wins 9 times out of 10. But SOS gets a pinch of luck. A Robo goes down from the slightly more careful Patience instead of just committing to the all-in. And then with some beautiful execution and the nice little counterattack of 4 Stalkers, SOS has put himself in a position to be, dare I say, even. He's even just now equal in Harvesters. And if you look at supply, they're about the same. How the hell does he do this?
Now, there's a reason he's a champion, and as we move a little bit more towards this later mid-game stage, we see Forges being added on, +1 attack coming in for SOS. Hallucinated Phoenix to scout for Patience, wants to keep tabs on everything that he's up to. And behind this, Patience is getting his robotic space, so he's really stepping up in that tech. He's been able to mine from one of these assimilators a little bit earlier on the natural than SOS, and he's going to just try to step up his tech, take a little bit of the advantage from having this expansion up faster.
Ooh, okay, good. I was wondering if Patience was trying to look for some kind of sneaky attack getting around the towers, but instead he was looking to intercept that Hallucinated Phoenix. It's becoming a little bit of a Cold War. Information is key here, because as we do see, Patience is going to go for the Colossus tech. And I say that, and it used to be that was the most insanely generic, no-dub thing to ever say. We're actually going to have a little bit of an awkward fight here. Blink Stalker versus Blink Stalker. Try to get away here. Oh, actually, we might have a... Ooh, geez. That'd be so weird to have this big fight right now. Like, both these guys are not really counting on this. But to finish my thought, that used to be like completely commonplace, but right now what's happening, what we're seeing more commonly, here it is. Templar Archives for SOS. He'll get charge. He'll throw down a lot of gateways, and it's going to be something more similar to Charge Lot, Immortal, Archon. And they rely on a lot of aggression, counterattacks, and then they skip right to Tempest. But on the flip side, we see Patience going a little bit more vanilla here with just straight into Colossus like we always used to see.
Yeah, and on the flip side here, we have the Templar Archives coming in to charge upgrades as well. So it looks like Patience is getting ready to take that 3rd base. SOS already has it coming in, and I feel like getting the 3rd base up faster for SOS can kind of be that complementary move towards the natural being up faster for Patience. And the Stalkers blinking in the main base once again. 4 of them pick off of 1 probe, and he's going to go in here, get a couple of kills, and he should still be able to blink out. One of them taking a lot of damage, though, does save all 4 Stalkers.
The longer the game goes, the more useless, well, I guess it's weird to call it useless, but the less useful the Stalker becomes. It's an armored unit, and the more Immortals and Charge Lots with better upgrades, Archons, that kind of thing, they're just not worth what their supply is. So oftentimes what you're going to see is these Blink Stalkers more active around the map, as we can see with Patience, trying to deny information, but also threatening to blink in and trade their lives for a few probes or some time even, just buy some time. And then they'll exchange that supply for the more important units, like Colossus, like Charge Lot, perhaps Tempest later down the line, and even Archons. So both these players are going to kind of do that. And now shaving off, again, the same 4 Stalkers. And he's going to go do that. But, I mean, look at the rest of his army. No more Stalkers, right? Let me check just to make absolutely sure. Yeah, it's just these 4.
Yeah, he's invested a lot of his resources, SOS, into a very hardy composition. 7 Immortals, 2 Archons. These are very high hit point units that, for all intent, I mean, honestly, the Colossus are not going to be able to kill off that quickly. It's not that heavy Charge Lot base force where the splash damage gets the maximum effect. But in turn, he still has a lot of his own Immortals to help tank that damage. And it comes down a lot to the positioning of this engagement. This could be a bit awkward.
Nathanius, we're going to perhaps have that big fight. It looks like SOS is not ready to commit to this. He's running the probes, but now he says, no, I can actually, it's getting a little bit awkward there. He has to be really careful. It's not, at this point in time, Photon Overcharge is not the spell. Oh my gosh, he's forgetting about the motion core. If he just blinks over there, okay, he is going to go with Photon Overcharge. I think that's a little bit strange. because it just doesn't do a lot of damage right now. He's focusing down the motion core of Patience, which I really like. No Time Warp was casted here from SOS, which means he's not going to be able to hold those Colossus in place and allow his Immortals to get in range and stop it. SOS. He's just marching back and forth through the Time Warp like, look how painful this is. God, I'm moving slow. But his army is getting scary, and with just the 2 Colossus, Patience has to be really careful here.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot easier for Patience to get a good position. Actually trying to snipe that Warp Prism, lost all his shields. It does have 2 Immortals inside of it. Bit of a shotgun maneuver trying to drop these behind the Colossi to focus them down, but they do
he gets
blink,
it!
Grabs that Warp Prism, and now the engagement begins. The Colossi kiting back. A 3rd Colossus approaches from the east. Zealot Warpids with this pylon helping a lot. Patience is pushing SOS back up 120 supply.
2-0.
He wins 2-0 over the BlizzCon champion. Patience is going to move on, and SOS is out of here.
Holy cow. Ladies and gentlemen, Patience has just 2-0'd the BlizzCon champion, one of the best players in the planet SOS. And he did it through brilliant decision-making, beautiful execution. He was ahead in both games. His build was the better one both times. And, I mean, he just finished it off. Amazing. He just blanked SOS. And again, on paper, SOS is the favorite by a huge margin. Incredible play.
Certainly. I don't think anybody looking at the tournament setup would have said that Patience going to take out SOS and make it as deep into this bracket as he has. An absolutely fantastic Protoss versus Protoss series. I don't really have any other words for that. The engagements were beautiful. The reads that he made were excellent. And, well, it was a great match with both players, but looks like we're going to go to the winner's interview with Patience. Take it away, Smix.
Thank you very much, Nathanius. Congratulations, Patience, on your 2-0 victory against the BlizzCon champion, SOS. Not a small feat at all. And actually, I know that a lot of you guys are wondering who Patience is, because he's kind of one of the Koreans we have yet to get to know on a better level. So the first question I want to ask is if he can just introduce himself a little bit more so we can get to know him better, his age just to begin with, and just his background in StarCraft in general.
이제 첫 질문은 이제 많은 이게 패배 팬들이 잘 모르잖아요, 조지현 선수를. 그래서 약간 좀 소개도 좀 해주고, 그리고 이제 스타크래프트에 대한 그냥 이제 스타크래프트 언제 시작했는지 이런 얘기 좀 해주세요.
그 19살 프로토스 조지현이고요. 스타2는 1년 전에 시작했어요.
He says he's a 19-year-old Protoss player, and he started StarCraft 2 a year ago, so he's a pretty recent player. So that makes me to my next question. I actually want to see if he's played StarCraft 1 or if he just kind of fell into StarCraft 2 kind of randomly.
그러면 혹시 그 스타크래프트 1은 하셨나요? 아니면 그냥 스타크래프트 2 그냥 시작했나요?
1 하긴 했는데 프로는 아니었어요.
So he says, I did play StarCraft 1, but I wasn't a pro player. Then I kind of want to see why he got into StarCraft 2. It kind of seems a little random.
그럼 스타크래프트 2는 왜 이렇게 시작하게 되셨나요?
프라임 팀에 그 장현우 선수라고 있는데 그 선수가 한번 해보라고 해서 시작하게 됐어요.
So there was a player on Prime that told me, I think you would be a pretty good player, so you should try it out. And that's why I tried it out, and I became a StarCraft 2 player. And I guess that's why his first team was actually Prime. His ID on that team was Lucy. And it makes me wonder why he changed his name from Lucy to Patience.
그러면 프라임 팀 소속에 있을 때는 그 이름이 루시였잖아요. 근데 이름을 페이션스로 바꿨어요. 그 이름을 왜 바꿨나요?
원래 그거 할 게 없어서 처음에는 한 거고, 그러니까 두 번째는 이제 제대로 하려고 네 아이디.
So he says, my first ID I just kind of created out of the blue just to have an ID. But for my second ID, Patience, I kind of thought a little bit more about it and what I would want other people to know me as. And so that's why I came up with Patience. Now, Patience just beat SOS, the BlizzCon champion. I imagine that this must give him a lot of confidence, but I want to see what he has to say about it himself.
이제 방금 김유진 선수를 이겼는데 김유진 선수가 요즘 엄청 잘하잖아요. 그 블리츠컨 우승자고 그 다음에 지난주에 그 다른 대회에서도 2등하고 그래서 그걸 이겼기 때문에 자신감을 좀 받은 것 같은데 기분이 어떠세요?
그 김유진 선수가 연습 때랑 너무 똑같이 하셔서 제가 좀 많이 맞춤으로 해서 이긴 것 같아요.
So he says, I think SOS just played really similar to how he usually plays in practice. So I just kind of played in a way that counters him, and I think that's why I was able to win so easily.
then he's currently in the losers bracket. He has a long way to go before he gets to the grand finals. Lastly, I want to just see how confident he feels in terms of his chances on making it all the way there. 이제 지금 패자 브라켓에 있는데 그 이제 아직 갈 때가 멀잖아요. 자신감은 어떠세요?
그 문성원 선수랑 한번 다시 해보고 싶어서 너무 아깝게 져서 다시 해보고 싶어요.
So he says, I actually really want to play MMA again. The way I lost to him, I just feel like I really could have won. So I'm really regretful about how that game panned out. Guys, this was Patience. He is a 19-year-old young Korean protest player. Watch out for him in this tournament as he isn't a faceless Korean anymore. Just, give him your support as he does seem a little shy. Actually, I do want to see if he has a Twitter so you guys can actually give him your support. 마지막으로 혹시 트위터나 있으세요? 그 해외 팬들이 좀 응원할 수 있게.
네?
트위터요.
저 트위터는 없고 페이스북만.
페이스북 뭐예요?
페이스북 뭐 어떻게 말해야 돼? 네네.
So he says, I actually don't have a Twitter that you guys can reach out to me on, but I do have a Facebook. And I believe from what he's saying that it's a personal Facebook, so it's not public yet, but I'm going to try to talk to him on the side, so if he can open up a Twitter so you guys can reach out to him and talk to him a little bit more, in a more accessible way. Anyway, Patience, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. Guys, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have Hero versus Pult, so stay tuned.